man them getting into verbal beef.
Because I was a minute ago. What's up?
Here, take the gloves off.
I did mad too.
I'm trying to bring that man professional work.
Oh, he's about to get wrestler.
I'm going to say this one time real nice. Get that camera on my face, bro.
Well, there you have it. There you have it. There you have it. Welcome back to the realest channel on YouTube. And I think it's pretty clear what we're going to be talking about today. YouTube boxing. If you thought it was going to die, it definitely hasn't died. We are back. We've got a big summer of fights ahead of us. We've got a Nissan Gibb headlining cryptocurrency, crypto.com arena, Staples Center as it should have been called and stayed that way, against Austin McBroom. And then we have Jake versus Hasim Rahman Jr. and we have JJ KSI versus Alex Wasabi. Let's focus today. We're gonna focus today on one fight. We're talking about Jake Paul versus Hasim Rahman Jr. Now, the reason why this is a big fight is because this is the first opponent where Jake Paul has actually said, yeah, man's scrapping against a real boxer.
I don't think he's impressive at all. I'm highly unimpressed with KSI. I'm highly unimpressed with Viddal. If James could come through, if James could come true, me and Jacob beat up KSI and Viddal on the same night.
Now, Hasim Rahman Jr., we've seen him on socials. He was calling me out a lot at one point because I put out a tweet saying that I would fight the winner of Hasim Rahman Jr. versus Rashad Coulter, which was on the Triller show where Jake fought Nate Robinson and where Ray Jones fought Mike Tyson. But that is all old news. The facts remain that Hasim Rahman Jr. is the opponent and is actually a better opponent than Tommy Fury.
Now he looks like his daddy in whatever Rocky movie that
That one hurt.
Did he hurt him?
That one hurt.
Hurt him.
He's dropped. He's dropped.
Down goes Rockman.
Oh, God.
And I don't think he's getting up.
One shot to take him out. He's not okay. One shot to take him out.
He's smiling.
Yeah, he's not okay.
Morrison's not.
He's not okay.
He got a minute and a half.
He's not okay.
Wow.
Jake's team have seen this and they've said, you know what? Let's make him next on the hit list. We just saw at the beginning of the video a reaction to their sparring, the end of their sparring, how they were both behaving, I should say. It was quite heated. And also in the press conference, it was mentioned that they sparred, but Hasim Rahman Jr. was only allowed to use one hand and that Jake was turning away and running to turnbuckles. This spar was about 2 years ago. 2 years in the embryonic stage of learning something is a big amount of time. We cannot go off 2 years ago when a skill is fresh to somebody. What Jake can learn in 2 years can be exponential compared to someone who's been doing it for many years, if you're normal. But I would say that I'm not normal, so I just learned bare quick anyway, despite how long I've been doing it. But yeah, Jake has definitely chose a great opponent for himself in terms of gaining that credibility that he wants to gain as a boxer. And I think that this is a valid opponent who does put him in the category of being a boxer. Why does this fight mean something to me? Because Hasim Rahman Jr. is an opponent that I could face. It's an opponent that if my team said, yo, we got Hasim Rahman Jr., everyone would look at it in the boxing world as a good fight. So it's only right that with Jake taking on Hasim Rahman Jr. as an opponent, that we give him his respects. Because honestly, it's an opponent that, you know, could be mine. So for Jake to be in there with an opponent that could be mine, obviously there's only two outcomes, win or lose. Could be a draw, but I doubt it. If Jake beats Hasim Rahman Jr., then the possibility of him being an opponent for me, of course, increases tenfold. And I think that's only logical sense. I can't sit here and say, you know what, man, he's still not on my level. Because I just think it's a bit arrogant and doesn't make logical sense. I'm quite a logical person. So whether his name's Jake Paul and he has 20 million subscribers, 10, 5, started off as a fairy, started off as a clown in a circus. Once you fight someone who is an opponent that I could be in the ring with, I have to consider you as someone who could be a potential opponent. That being said, I don't want to go into the realm of fighting Jake. Now that he's in this space It's a fight that could happen. And if it's a fight that's offered, it won't be a fight that I decline, because at the end of the day, I'm a scrapper. I think JJ versus Jake is still the biggest fight in YouTube boxing history, and I don't think that will change. And I don't want the paths to get crossed, or for him to say, yeah, I'm gonna fight Viddal before I fight JJ, or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? I want that fight to be just in its own realm. You fought, you fight him, JJ fights Wasabi, you man scrap. I don't want to feel like I'm put in the middle of that. One thing's for sure, I'll definitely never ever fight JJ. So we can all write that one and put that down to the side. But yeah, he could be a future opponent. It is realistic. I'm a realistic person. He's made a lot of progress as a boxer. We know he's got the funds, we know he's got the time, we know he's got literally everything that he needs to be able to progress and put time into the sport of boxing, and that he has done. But he hasn't put 19 years into it like myself. So, and you can't buy those years. That's something that you can't purchase. So yeah, I do look at it like, great, this is a great fight. I will be watching closely. I believe if Hasim Rahman Jr. wins the fight, he might continue on the trail he previously was on, calling me out and stuff like that. But I'm just not into all of it. I'm not into all of it. I'm not into all of the hype, because there's a team that I have, and when they sent paperwork, it means it's serious. If they're not sent the paperwork, then it means, you get me, it's just chat for the socials. We can get a couple of views, bud man. Yeah, bro, I got some views. You know, you got some views, I got some views. But when it comes to actually throwing their hands, everyone knows where to reach out and find those people. So I believe if Hasim Rahman Jr. wins, he's more likely to call me out immediately after Jake, rather than Jake call me out after being Hasim Rahman Jr. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I expect to see a close fight in a way, especially in the early rounds. I expect to see a close fight in the early rounds. I think Jake's going to come out sharp. He'll be nervous. Rahman will be nervous. There's a lot of pressure on his shoulders to perform. There's a lot of pressure on him to show that he is the boxer with over 100 amateur fights, and he is the one with 13 professional fights. He can't focus on that too much, but it is a factor. It is there, and it does exist. So I think early on it will be a close fight. Right now, I'm making my first prediction. This is my first prediction, not final. This is my first prediction. I think Hasim Rahman Jr. wins. Hasim Rahman Jr. will have a vim that he has never had before. This is a fight that he understands what's on the line. He understands his family name and credibility is at stake, and his dad admitted in the press conference that he's never prepared how he should and performed how he should as a professional thus far. I don't think this is going to continue into the Jake fight. I think he's going to show why he is who he is. We'll be back on the channel with more reactions. It's going to be one about Jake. There's going to be one about JJ. There'll be one about Gibbs. There's going to be one about everything that's going on, even the fights in the traditional boxing world. The setup will continue to grow and will continue to be a complete finish. But for now, I just felt like I was missing out on too much, and I needed to just get myself back into the YouTube room and doing some reactions. So I hope you enjoyed this reaction. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed already, just like me and you don't get on at the end of the day. We just don't get on. So make sure you subscribe. And if you don't know what I do at the end of the videos, it's the end of the video.
I'm too cool for the rules, baby, get off of me. Never need no push, I do it all for me. Keep a couple real hitters, got them on call for me. Money moving, got it in the market where it ought to be. Too true for the flex.